in our series or sequence of the magic of color. Really welcome to our journey that we've been taking through the rainbow, and that's why I chose the rainbow as the image for this particular session. It's our journey through the rainbow. I like this one. There's a little shadow of a rainbow on the other side, and if you look at the way it's reflected in the water, it's almost like the opening of an eye. So while we are completing just a part of this journey, the rainbow continues, and you will continue your own color journey in your own way. So I hope you've really enjoyed the process and the learnings with us so far. It really seems difficult to believe that we've sort of come to the final session so quickly, really, because it seems like only yesterday that we started with the first one. And I was just also so amused. I wanted to share this one with you, Rose, because in the second workshop series that I've got running at the moment, there are also just 3 delegates. It's a small group. But one of the ladies on there has actually been wanting to do a color workshop for years. She first contacted me years ago about doing a color workshop and just couldn't make any of the physical ones that I actually had going. And we've done 2 sessions already, and she said to me in the second session, she sent a little note. I know it was just so amazing. She said, I've wanted to do this for so long, and now I know why I had to wait, because I had to wait for you. This is just fantastic. And it just really echoed those sentiments. Yeah, and I shared the story with her. So it was just really beautiful in terms of being a part of a process and a journey that actually has such depth of meaning and such value to individuals. That's, it's part of my passion to be able to share this with you all. So I'm really delighted and sad at the same time that our journey is actually coming to an end. So before we go into what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the 9 bottle reading that you had for your homework, and I've prepared another 9 bottle reading that we can actually do live, and then we're just going to tie up with some of the additional information that's in your workbook with a couple of extra notes from myself about things like that, because there's a lot of additional information of value if you've had a chance to look through your notes that you will find there. Many different ways in which you can then apply the understanding that you now have. But before we do that, I just thought it would be really nice today to take 5 minutes just to do a little color breathing exercise. So 5 or 10 minutes. So just to start the journey off this evening, I'd like you to sit comfortably. Make sure that you're comfortable. Yeah, that's it. And then you can close your eyes. As long as you can hear me okay, you can just close your eyes and just begin by focusing on your breathing. As you breathe in and out, and just rest into the space that you're in. Just literally allow any tiredness or stress to flow off your skin, out on your breath, away from your body with each in breath and out breath. Just feel your body giving an internal ah, thank you, as you are allowed to rest into the calmness and the peace within. And breathe in now all the way. Allow your breath to take you right down to your toes and out. So you breathe with your whole body in and out. Just bringing your body into a divine harmony with the flow of life itself through your breath. And as you do, you become aware that your body is a prism for all of the colors, for the rainbows of light, for the seven main colors that we know and all the tints and shades in between. Just see your body now as a manifestation of all of the different colors and frequencies. And focus now on the color red. As you breathe in red, but breathe it in through your root chakra. Breathe in the color red. And as you breathe out the color violet through your crown. So breathe in red through the root and breathe out violet through the top of your head. Feel the flow of that energy through your body. And now breathe in orange through your sacral and breathe out indigo through your third eye, front and back. So breathe in orange, breathe out indigo. And moving up. Breathe in yellow through your solar plexus center and breathe out blue through your throat. Feel your body coming into balance. And now breathe in green into your heart and breathe out pink from your heart, expanding the field of love and bringing your body into harmony with the heart. In green and breathe out pink. And now let's just reverse the colors. As you breathe in violet through the top of your head, And you breathe out red through the soles of your feet. Breathe in violet, breathe out red. And breathe in indigo through your third eye center. And breathe out orange through your calves. And breathe in yellow. Breathe in blue into your throat. And breathe out yellow through your knees and your thighs as you draw that energy all the way down through your body. Breathe in blue through your throat. Breathe out yellow through your thighs. And now finally breathe in pink into your heart. And breathe out green through your root chakra, as you bring the energy of your heart and embed it within your body. Breathe in pink into your heart and green out through the root center. And with all of those colors in balance flowing through your body, allow them all to mix and to merge as the rainbow, mixing in perfect balance, in perfect combination, so that you become a clear conduit for pure light. Just experience yourself now as a transparent being, as a vehicle for the infinite light of the divine, of your essence, of your core. Breathe in and out. in clear light and out clear light. And again, deep breath in and out with a sigh, and then you can open your eyes. How are you doing? Got all that? Okay, that's great. I don't know what happened there then, Rose. Unless it was just when I had a bit of a gap where I wasn't talking, you thought that the sound had gone. Oh, you missed the bit from breathing out orange through the calves. That's strange. You might be able to pick it up again on the recording. Ooh, very odd. Um, Okay, you should be able to pick it up again on the recording. But again, it's one of those things that once you've got the hang of the process, it's something that you can actually do for yourself almost without being guided. And it is interesting doing it that way, bringing in the lower part of your body, because when we do the antenna treatments at a specific level of working, we do marry up the parts of the body with the rest of the chakra system as a mirror image, which is really interesting. So we do work with, say, orange on the knees and coral on the calves and yellow on the thighs and red on the ankles. And it really is, we know from healing, for instance, that the heart is actually represented by the knees because the knees represent or are the state of change, and it's the flexibility in the knees which indicate our ability to move with change through life. So when somebody is struggling with change, you'll find that they would be struggling very often with ailments of the knees. Um, and that is actually linked with the heart. So there are instances, but how are you feeling now? Feeling nice and calm and clear? Good. Right. What? Your husband? Does your husband have knee problems? Is that the? Yeah, yeah. It is. It's very, very interesting. My mum also has problems with her knees. So does one of my sisters. And there is that inflexibility in respect of changing certain things, sort of knees and ankles that sort of trust stubbornness, and ability to be flexible and to really expand their heart, to open up their heart to change that they had not perhaps envisioned or expected. It's kind of like I'll accept change as long as it's within my paradigm. They don't like shifting paradigms. So, so yeah, there's a wonderful glossary of stuff in at the back of your manual, which I'll get to a little bit later. So let's have a look at the 9 bottle reading. Because there is actually a hidden flow in this once we get used to it. So this was the one that you had for your homework. And Hillary, thank you for sending yours through. That was really great. So the way that we would do, the way that it's presented in your workbook anyway, with a 9 bottle reading, is that you would essentially read, sort of a line at a time. What I tend to do when I do this is I look for links in the reading, and I kind of read it as an overall picture. So for instance, there will be a link between the present energies and the biggest issue that they are dealing with right now. And as I was actually going through this after I'd put all the colors in, I had to smile because I thought, I just did this totally off the top of my head. So I wasn't consciously thinking about anything as I was like sticking the colors in. I just wanted to have a good spread of colors, really. But I found that as I was going through it, that there were some wonderful, wonderful stories and patterns that emerged in the picture. So I just wondered if you guys had actually caught on to that. But anyway, so what we would do is we would start off with the past. So you kind of go, you look at this and the past was gold. So this would represent that the individual may have gone through a period of more expansive understanding or a bit of a search for truth, really. A search to find out what was true for them. You know, perhaps a realization that things that they had believed in their whole life were not theirs. So they may have been going through a process of questioning who they were and how they relate to life. And as a consequence, it could mean that they had their confidence knocked a little bit. But with that bottle being in the past, it means that they've actually come through that. The process may have meant that they also had to face up to some of the irrational fears that they may have had about changing certain things, that they kept on putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And once they actually got through that and faced into the fears, they realized that the change wasn't as bad as what they thought it was going to be. Um, so having gone through something of a process of accessing different levels of truth, of understanding, of knowledge, of wisdom, and understanding of the self, because gold represents the essence of the self. And the challenges that it presents are in procrastination, are in irrational fears and phobias, um, perhaps giving away power, because that's what we do when we give power away to external things, not being able to live life to the full. So you weave a little bit of a story and you kind of say you've probably been going through some of this stuff. They may not have experienced all of it. And in fact, they likely haven't, because gold comes up again in the mental. So it says there is still an aspect of this that they are dealing with. However, they will have resolved some of the issues around gold. Remember that our journey through life as part of the working with the rainbow, we delve in and out of the frequencies of different colors as we need certain things. Yeah, that's exactly it. As Rose has just said, for those catching up later, I wrote that but wondered about the second gold color. Yeah. And that's because we don't resolve everything that is contained within the frequencies or the information or the message in that bottle or that color at any one time, because there is so much that is encompassed by it. And this is why it's interesting to work at discussing with people so that you can draw out and find out what level they are working at within that. Thank you for that comment, Hilary. I'm so glad that that makes sense. You can relate to what is being said. And I think this was also a message for me too. There's always another opportunity and another journey and a pathway to resolving issues. Bear in mind that whenever we have an issue, let's say that there was an emotional abuse system in childhood. Just, top of my head, let's just say that there was some sort of emotional abuse in childhood. That emotional abuse would have affected probably every single one of the chakras in a different way. So we talk about abuse and we immediately think, okay, tendency perhaps towards addictions, self deprecation, lack of confidence. We're talking about orange issues. Situations like that lead to lack of confidence. That leads into the yellow and yellow issues. Things like that lead into an inability for the person to be able to speak up for themselves, which is a blue issue. If they are very sensitive, they're likely then to hide, put up walls around themselves, not be able to share themselves emotionally. So that leads into turquoise issues. So can you actually see how one particular set of circumstances can engage different aspects that would link in with different colors? So we would weave in and out, resolving bits and pieces throughout life. And that's why sometimes, as we go on this journey, and a lot of people have noticed this on the so-called ascension journey, which is not a word that I really like to use, is that we think, we go into an issue or an aspect that we recognize that we have right now at the conscious level. So we'll delve into that and we go, oh, okay, well, I found such and such a process and now it's cleared. Oh, that's wonderful. And suddenly 6 months later or a year later, you find yourself going through the same thing again and it just gets frustrating because you go, but I've dealt with that. I dealt with that issue and it's finished. And it doesn't happen that way because it is like the spokes of a wheel all linking in to a core issue. So we clear it at many different levels and through many different ways and different emotional, mental, physical aspects. And that's where the language of color is actually so beautiful in terms of revealing and opening up some of those things. Yeah, that's exactly it. So we deal with different levels on the spiral of healing. So it's always a journey. So that's great. So you guys could relate to the goals and what that would represent in terms of the past. So that's where they've come from. So where is the person now? What are they dealing with now? So in this case, what I would do is I would go to the present and I would look at the biggest issue. So starting off with the present, you kind of go, okay, so you've been through this where you've started unfolding layers of the truth, started accessing different knowledge bases, different aspects and different roots into wisdom of life and starting to get in touch with your own essence. But now what sometimes happens is that we open up to so much information that we end up going round and round and round with things in our head. So what's happened with this individual at the moment is in the present is they've probably gone into a space where all of this stuff and everything that they've opened up to is sitting in their head space waiting to be integrated. Okay. And also that because this individual may have a problem communicating what they've just learned, that they could be experiencing problems communicating this information. Okay? So they're sitting with all of this going around in their head, possibly an inability to communicate, and possibly even more questions being raised as a consequence of this. So cogitating, working through stuff, sitting in their head, possibly worrying about things. When you start opening up to greater levels of truth and wisdom and what have you, you also start worrying about the bigger picture stuff and the bigger aspects of life. Now, this is where green comes in because green is also, this is their biggest issue. Green is a color that opens us up to more expansive parts of the picture. So in addition to its attributes of change, of direction, speaking about space, we talk about space. It opens us up to bigger spaces. So their biggest issue at the moment could be this change of internal space as a consequence of the things that they've realized. Their personal space needs to change. So there could be a lot of inner worrying or anxiety about just exactly what they need to do in order to integrate and deal with these expanded understandings, how they need to take the change forward in such a way that it's going to benefit their life and going to benefit them. Okay. And also how to be able to communicate that with others and to be able to move forward in such a way that they do so from a space of being able to create more peace because blue is the color that's associated with peace. Okay, and being able to create a quiet, reflective space for themselves. So it may have happened as well that as a consequence of everything that has been realized in the past, that they are needing some quiet space for themselves in order to be able to come to grips with it all. So that also speaks into the issue or the aspect of creating a different space. So finding the peace within themselves, the ability to communicate in conjunction with a change of space. Does that make sense to you guys? Can you see how the two would work together? You got it. Okay. Sounds like you. It sounds like me too, I can tell you. You know, it really makes a lot of sense for me. So it's ringing lots of bells for me as we're going through it. So the one thing, that's okay, Hillary. So it's better than what you put. That's okay. It's just learning the process and learning how to read the picture. So what becomes quite interesting here is that so we're talking about needing to find peace, needing to find ways of communicating effectively what has shifted internally within us, and how to change or bring change into our life that's appropriate. So they're feeling um, a need to actually shift that. Now, coming down here, I want to draw you back to this second gold bottle because this need to shift and change and everything going on in the head is indicated again by this gold that's in the mental space. Because in the mental space, gold represents irrational fears and phobias. So, what they are probably dealing with mentally at this moment, because this is now the different levels of how they're dealing with this stuff at the moment, is that it's part of the anxiety of just of finding the way through into a new space for themselves. But in doing that, they are faced with all sorts of irrational fears and phobias that are coming from previous conditioning. Because when those fears and phobias are examined, they will very often make no sense. The thing is, we become very adept at actually creating obstacles to making the changes that we know are going to be beneficial for us in the long run. So we'll find any excuse and any fear to prevent us from actually doing that, even if it is irrational. You want to find out what it is that they are afraid of, because that's what's going on in their head. There's a lot of fearful stuff, and they may not even be able to explain it. So you may find that things like hypnotherapy would be useful for helping them to move beyond this. So they're dealing with some irrational fears and phobias, and possibly putting things off, procrastinating because they're sitting in their head. So they're procrastinating about the changes that need to take place because it's all in their head. Can you see how the picture starts coming together? In addition, you can look at this future battle. Now, I would usually read the future battle and the potential battle at the end. But the future battle in this case I found very interesting because the future battle is turquoise. And turquoise is a combination of blue and green, which is the biggest issue of the current moment and the present energy overall pattern that they're dealing with. So you combine those two, and if those issues are resolved, they can step forward into a future which is liberating. So as a consequence of doing what needs to be done to resolve this issue at all levels, they will experience emotional liberation, breaking down the walls, and they will experience freedom. So you can actually see that. So there's irrational fears and phobias getting in the way of their resolution of this in order for them to experience this. Okay? So there you've got that part of the story. So we can come into, all right, so that's what's going on. So at the mental level, it's dealing with fears and phobias. What's happening at the rest of the levels of being? All of this mental worry, all of this mental activity is drawing energy away from the physical ability to be able to bring action or actionable change into their life. So one of the reasons why this is an issue, they're feeling physically stuck because their constant mental activity is draining them of energy. So they're feeling physically tired. Okay, they may even be experiencing um, blood pressure problems because you've got the issue in the greens. You've got the green and the red, and they both related to the heart. And one way or another, they both relate to blood pressure. Red at the physical level would be linked with potential high blood pressure. So stress. They're experiencing stress because of the need to actually bring a change about in their life, and they're feeling stuck. What's happening at the emotional level is with the coral represents, again, we've got to link back to the heart because coral represents self-love, unconditionality, compassion, forgiveness, nurturing, all of those beautiful, gentle, kind, supportive aspects. So at the emotional level, there's an inability. So all of these three here would be representing challenges that they're dealing with at the moment that are contributing to the space that they are in. So this would be presenting with a challenge which says you're not basically providing well enough for yourself, nurturing yourself well enough in order to be able to bring the energy into that change that needs to be made. So one of the changes would be straight away, start creating space for yourself and start bringing in some kindness, some self-nurturing, some compassion, some forgiveness. Some of this gold stuff at the mental level could also be, and this again links back with the heart as a big issue, that there is an over tendency to dwell on past hurts, ways that people have actually hurt them in the past, which then generates a fear of stepping forward into a new space out of fear that they may be hurt again. Bear in mind that this, pattern would link with somebody who is pretty sensitive. You've got the pale coral in here, you've got the golds being represented as well. So there's a sensitivity. So they could be dwelling on past hurts and disappointments which are preventing them from moving forward. The more they dwell on that, the more they're going to drain the energy that they have available to make that change. So can you see how that all ties together? So the pathway into change, the pathway here is identified by the red bottle, which is feeding their physical self and their physical energy in order to provide them with the impetus for action. Okay, to bring them out of their head, because that's where that starts coming into play, bring them out of their head into something actionable, and so that it refeeds their passion and vitality for life. Because this particular profile will be saying there's very little joy, there's very little happiness, there's very little feeling appreciated, because that's also here at the emotional level of the coral. Possibly drained because they've been giving, and they're not feeling appreciated either. So what red would start the process of doing is giving them the energy to start laying down the necessary boundaries that serve themselves, enable the heart to expand, enable them to start recognizing where they've been neglecting themselves, emotionally and in other ways, and refeeds their passion for life. The net outcome, or the potential for this, as expressed by the violet, is the ability to reconnect with who they are and to reconnect with life and an understanding of life at a very different level. It is reconnecting with the divine flow that feeds and nourishes all of life, with a deeper understanding that there is a divine guidance in all of life, and that there is a divine perfection and a divine pattern in all of the circumstances and things that can happen. It is also about developing a trust that they will be supported. There's probably a lot more that could actually be said about this. But just for the time being, we're already at 7:15. I can't believe it. Does that make sense for you? It's a higher level of balance because violet is about balance. Ah, there you go. So that's resonating with you. That's great. Hillary, does that make sense? Are you feeling a little bit more comfortable with that now? Yep. Okay. So bearing that in mind, so you start seeing how things fit in and flow into others. So the sequence that you've been given in your workbook, again, is a guideline. It does give you some insights into how to read the different placements. Um, one of the things as well, the way that Penny does the readings, but you probably are not likely to be doing this because you would need to have full sets of bottles, big bottles and small bottles and all of the rest of it, is that one of the other aspects is that where there is a big bottle, that somebody would choose from the display and put into one of these blocks, that represents a big issue. If they've chosen a small bottle, one of these baby bottles, and stuck it in one of the spots, then it means that the issue is actually not that serious. So it's something that they've already done a lot of work on, and they're really just dealing with the residue of it, as represented by the much smaller bottle. So again, there is another level of reading, which is really lovely and quite positive. And the thing about the baby bottles as well, when you're doing a reading like this, is that if somebody chooses a baby bottle in either the potential or the future, is that is a minimization of their recognition of their own potential. So what you would always do is if you were doing a reading with all of the bottles and that happened and they did that, you would take the little bottle and make them put it back on the shelf and make them go and get a big bottle so that they can be in the full recognition and really, really embrace the power that they actually have available, so that they can begin to really experience and feel that and attract that towards themselves in terms of the future and potential. So again, there's another layer that could also work. And again, there's another layer of it if they were choosing the paler bottles in conjunction with the darker bottles. So you would read that slightly differently in terms of the intensity of the issue and sensitivity of the individual. So there's a great deal that you can actually do with this if you choose to. So that was if you wanted to be a full-on color therapist and actually do color reading. So that's a bit of insight there. So let's go on to the next one that I actually prepared for you. So bearing that in mind, I've just gone through all of that. What I'd like you to do is just take a few moments and have a look at this and just see how or what patterns you can see or links that you can see in this particular selection. It's a totally different color selection that I've pulled out for you. As an example, can you see that straight away what would catch my eye if I looked at this is that they've got yellow in their present space, which is it's linked, yellow is linked with their biggest issue at the moment. And very, very interestingly, you've got the yellow and the violet. Yellow, let's go back to this little slide here, and violet, which are complements of each other. So you've got the color complements manifest and represented in the biggest issue. But it is also the exact quality, what they're struggling with at the moment is the exact quality that they have the potential, really great potential to realize if they can actually clear and work with some of the patterns. Oh, I forgot to mention on this last one. Sorry, I want to go back just for one more point, is that In the workbook, what Penny recommends is that the client is given whatever bottle they place here in the biggest issue block as a guideline for them to work with. So we know that green expands the heart and enables things to be seen from a higher perspective. I would be, I would tend towards giving them the pathway bottle, which is the way out of the stuckness that enables them to act on the expansiveness of the perspective that they are receiving. So it's very, very intuitive, and it really does depend on the selection of bottles. But yeah, if you're feeling that, Rose, that in that case, I would actually choose the pathway bottle because it is an issue at the physical level, and they need the energy to unstick themselves. Okay, so very intuitive. It was just important that I said that because it's not in your workbook. Okay, so let's go back to this one now. So let's have a look. Let's just start off with the past issue and say, okay, where's this person been? What life situations or circumstances or things might they have been dealing with in the recent past that have brought them to the space that they're in at the moment? Any ideas? Okay, that's all right. Sorry, comment there. Not sure about it being in the past position. The magenta is one of those colors that one can kind of struggle with a little bit in terms of reading it. In the past position, bear in mind again that every color can represent a number of different things. I would look at this straight away and I would kind of see that yellow in the present position indicates a level of anxiety and stress. So they're probably dealing with quite a bit of stress at the moment, anxious, whatever it is that they may be anxious about, but anxiety and the word, possibly confusion about things. So what could likely have contributed to bringing them into that present position? Well, magenta as a color, in its challenging aspects, is about control freak. So it's the kind of individual who really does not have perhaps any religious or spiritual affiliation, necessarily any kind of link, and its challenging side, any kind of link with the divine, or there is confusion about their concept of God and what it is. So they could have been going through a situation where they've been challenging their concept of the divine. If there is no real concept of, yes, that's exactly it, Rose, not confident in spiritual matters. Yeah, they're not. And that's where you get the lack of confidence in the yellow coming through. So that's going to show you. So what might have happened here is they've been challenged. If they're not confident in spiritual matters and they've got no real concept of the divine flow that runs through life, that's where they have a need to want to control things. So they can't see the beauty in little things, or the beauty in disorder, even the beauty in the natural rambling nature of nature itself. You know, everything needs to be quite neat and tidy and in its place. So there are control issues that are very, very challenging in this space. So it could be somebody who has been challenged to let go of some of their control issues. Could be that they're in a new relationship and they're with somebody who's really messy. Yeah, it could come from any one of a number of directions. It could be because they've just had, sort of openings or insights into the divine or spiritual awakenings, and that has challenged them in terms of being able to let go of some of the controls. So they're feeling very, very anxious about that at the moment. Um, yeah, sort of an inability to see what is good and beautiful in life, and also somebody who's not able to manage time effectively. So it could be that they've had a real issue trying to manage their time, being too busy, somebody who is just always busy and perhaps never gets things finished, or they're always late. And it may be that at work they keep on being pulled up because they're always late and they can't meet their deadlines. And it's a those kind of things. So it's challenged, whatever it is challenged their confidence issues. So they might have been forced into relinquishing control, which is one of the resolution issues, one of the giving up issues in the magenta, and of realizing that there is a bigger picture at play in all of this. But in the relinquishing of that and in the reconnection, they've gone into a huge level of anxiety. Now, that would also be confirmed, the whole spiritual element of this would be confirmed by the violet. So it could be somebody. Oh, I see. That's very interesting. Yeah. So the spiritual element or whatever could come into play, and it could be somebody who has been challenged with this issue of control because they've gone through an extreme loss. Because if you look at this and then you look at the biggest issue is violet at the moment, and violet indicates grieving as an issue, it indicates loss, it indicates disconnection and reconnection, balancing of the brain, um, and all of those things. So there is a spiritual crown opening connection that is linked in here. So can you see that? Can you see that link? Can you also see how that, if there's been grief or loss, suddenly when something's ripped away from your life that is outside of your control, or you're made redundant, or something happens that you cannot control, that it would actually challenge all of their preconceived ideas about them being able to control every little element of their life. Okay. So there you've got those three bottles interplaying. Can you see that, Hilary? Have you got that? Does that make sense for you? Thanks, Rose. That makes sense for you. Yeah, you got it? Great. So now we've pulled into play the biggest issue. So the biggest issue is that they are feeling completely disconnected. So the likelihood is that they've had some of their non-belief ideas challenged here, but that it's probably quite likely been an issue of control. That they've been challenged with, causing them a lot of anxiety. So let's have a look at these three bottles then. So what's going on at another layer or another level within them? Okay. Um, so at the physical level, what they're likely experiencing is pains in the chest. So you could actually ask them this. Have you been experiencing pains in the chest? Have you been experiencing, or have you had any sort of respiratory tract, upper respiratory tract lung problems, coughs and colds, um, heart, blood pressure problems, because the heart is actually blood pressure. Any issues associated with the heart and the lungs. So physically, that's what's going to manifest. More than likely, I would guess, more than likely with this, that it's probably cold or flu that they've been experiencing there. Okay, so that's at the physical level. At the emotional level, the turquoise, whatever has happened within their life, has actually caused them to put up walls or barriers around themselves to protect their emotional body, protect their emotional self. Because turquoise in its challenge and at the emotional level is protecting the emotions. So again, possibly somebody, if somebody doesn't like letting go of control, but they've been forced to because of circumstances. They would be holding themselves together emotionally by putting everything up emotionally behind a wall. So at an emotional level, this is what they're doing. So they're restricting themselves. So you probably find that in conjunction with that, at the emotional level and the physical level, you're really affecting the chest area quite substantially. And the thymus and the immune system. So their immune system is going to be affected in general by these combinations here. Does that make sense, guys? But when they recognize that and communicate it, let walls down, it brings clarity. Yes. Clarity, clarity, enlightenment. Can you see how the picture works when you actually do this? I mean, it really is beautiful. So it's not only that they let down the walls, they let down the walls for themselves to experience that. They also let down the walls to enable themselves to be supported by others. Because coral is, it's not only about nurturing of ourselves, we also nurture ourselves when we allow others to nurture us. So the pathway is in allowing that loving, kind nurturing. Yes, mental is, sorry, yes, the pearl is also its crystalline clarity. There is also clearing through confusion and clarity that's in the brightness of the yellow. It's allowing themselves to be happy. And clarity is also an aspect of the pearl. So what you could find, what this would mean in this particular case, is a lack of clarity. And so they're sitting within a mental fog because of all of the walls that they've put up around themselves. Energy's not moving. It's all in their head, and they are experiencing lack of clarity, inability to see things in perspective, and a mental fog. So while that in its clear and its positive sense is the transparency, in its negative sense it would be opaque. So it would be foggy. So the ultimate future gift, and I mean, oh, this is just amazing. So the future that they have the ability to create for themselves in terms of dealing with all of these issues is one in which they have an open third eye. They are open to aspects of reality that are beyond their ordinary five senses and beyond their means to control, because the third eye, when that starts opening, so this whole sequence of energies enables them to begin opening their third eye to experience reality from a very, very different perspective, to enable them to begin to sense and experience the divine through awakening gifts of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. The ability to perceive things beyond the ordinary, and it's actually perfectly okay to engage other senses, and the potential of being able to do that and to be able to re-engage with life, and to be confident and happy and positive and enlightenment and joy. Yeah. So how do you guys feel about that? Does that sort of make a little bit more sense to you? You can really, really play with this, and really work on the stories as you actually get to see the patterns in the selections and the choices. And this is quite interesting, for me too, because yellow is actually one of the colors. I have been working with clear for a while, and yellow, I've got my yellow scarf that I've been pulling out. So I've gone from orange to yellow. So while I think I'm choosing these colors randomly, I think there's obviously a deeper flow and impulse at work here. Well, your bottles they're already in Teesside, Rose, so I'll be bringing them up with me next week. So there you go. You can really start playing. Yeah, gone from orange to pink and magenta today. So you do start noticing your own journey, and you start moving through the colors more quickly almost. Instead of being stuck in one for an extended length of time, the flow becomes easier the more you work with this. Because I do find that I move in and out of what I need on a daily basis these days. Sometimes it's a little bit longer, and sometimes it actually is a beautiful flow. Pardon me. If somebody only likes black, black is an interesting color because there are, even scientists actually say they don't know if there is any such thing as a real color black. Black is just a total absorption of light. But as somebody who is um, a conformist to a large degree, even though you see some of the counterculture movements like the goth movements where they like to wear black, and that black, yeah, that's it, that's exactly it, Hillary. I loved it because I've seen that in the stores, just black and gray, not enough color. um, if you think about the goths, they wear a lot of black. They like to think of themselves as a sort of counterculture movement, and the shock factor, black lipstick and black eye makeup and black clothing, and their black boots and all of the rest of it. The irony of what they're doing is that they think that they are not conforming to normal society, but they are actually still conforming to a paradigm which has been set up, which says that this is, if you belong to this group, that's called the Goths, and this is how you dress, behave, act. So that, in a sense, in their non-conformity, there is a conformity, if that makes sense. So there is it's almost like an absorption into that through the color black. So if somebody only wears black, it's very often it's a fear of being individualistic. It's a fear of expressing their true colors. Yeah, it's a fear of expressing who they really are, a fear of standing out in the world. A fear of, sort of standing out there in all of their glory for everybody to see. So sometimes it's a fear of what people will think if they dare to express, to truly express themselves. So, so black is safe. It's a safe color. And I know, sort of coming to the UK, I went through a period as well where I also forewent a lot of the colors, and I was wearing an incredible amount of black and white, just black and white, black and white, black and white, where there was very little bold or obvious color that was actually coming into my life. And that was probably about a year or two that I did that until I kind of recognized where this was going. And it was because I'd suffered a real crisis of confidence at that stage. So I did not feel confident about being out there and expressing myself. Sort of once I got back into the colors and resolved those issues within myself was when I started going out and buying different colors again. So somebody who only likes black is a tendency to not want to express their individual self. It's being conforming to some kind of societal norm. Does that make sense, guys? Yep. You guys okay with that then? So you ready to go out there and do your readings, are you? I can't believe there's an hour that's gone by already. So that gives you a little bit more insight into the flow, the patterns, the energy, and the colors. We're already at 20 to 8, so I'm actually just going to whiz through the next few slides just to really round it all off. Because what you've got in your workbook is you've got some wonderful additional suggestions for using color in various ways. One of them that Penny's got on pages 61 to 65 is on space clearing. And perfect ones for your room and your personal space are red and clear. Red for strength, and clear for literally clearing. So red is strength and protection, and the clear really just helps to clear out your space. The clear spray is wonderful to actually use. In fact, what I tend to do very often when I'm doing space clearings, I take Epsom salts and clear surgical spirits, uh, sort of a fireproof dish. I think Penny does mention this as a process in the book as well, so you can actually read about that with the Epsom salts. And then you can do a really wonderful spray afterwards, and it absolutely does uplift your space amazingly. As far as children are concerned, the pink spray and the blue oil of transformation is beautiful. Pink is for calming, blue is for protection. So you've got the pink for nurturing, calm, and blue for uh, protection and peace. Officers, what's really great is red, blue, clear, and pink. Pink actually, because it actually helps to reduce conflict within an environment. We spoke a while ago about the red, or sort of about convicts and about using pink in their cells and how it actually modified their behavior. So pink in a group environment is really lovely because it helps to promote harmonic relationships, as does blue. Blue helps you to maintain a calm environment. So you can use sprays, in this kind of circumstance. Clear just helps to clear the air if you've had a meeting or you've had a group of people or there have been any harsh words or whatever. You can clear the air using the clear spray. And the red is really sort of, it energizes the work environment, energizes for productivity. So you've got a really nice balance of colors. And of course, again, it's intuitive. These are just suggestions for different circumstances. Uh, are the bottles oil and water, or are some bottles watercolored sprays and other bottles oil? Okay. Good question. You have the oils, which are pure oil. That's the oils of transformation. The sprays themselves are what Penny calls the angel sprays. They are water-based with essential oils and color. So you've got the oils and the sprays are two separate ranges, if you like, of products. Okay. You don't have to, obviously, have the sprays. I mean, they are beautiful. I've got one mini set of sprays in the country. Are they all sprays or some with oils? Number three. Uh, it's difficult to use oils in an office environment. So in this particular recommendation, they would be sprays because they're very, very easy to use. And you can actually say that they are space sprays. I used to use these back in my office environment in South Africa. People used to walk in and say, "Have you got some of that spray? What's that spray that you use? That room spray. Oh, it smells so nice. I feel so good when you spray that. It just feels nice." So I never used to go into detail very often with it unless they asked me. But the team that I worked with that reported to me really used to enjoy it. So I used to keep sprays at work, uh, and they were really useful. So yeah, number three, those are sprays because they are easier to use. What else you can do is to really kind of like work with bringing those colors into the environment through crystals, through uh, furnishings, through ornaments, whatever it might be. So you can use those colors and bring them in different ways depending on what is needed, that you can change them from time to time. Crystals are always good. Oh, yes. New babies' rooms who don't sleep. Pink spray is beautiful. One of the other oils for babies who have a problem sleeping for their sensitivity, I'll get onto that on the next slide. I'll show you. Um, so you've got crystal grids that you can create. You can actually clear the crystals with a clear spray. It's brilliant. I've done that for years and used penny spray to actually clear them. It's really great. And blue oil as well as part of the clearing before reprogramming the crystals. So there's some great ideas there in the book. And then you can create earth spirals, oil colors as needed or as intuited. Now, these are a little bit expensive. So if you wanted to use the oil on the earth, it gets a bit pricey to do that. So there's ways that you can possibly do that by diluting the color that you want to use into another carrier so that you've got the essence of the color almost like a homeopathic preparation. And then you drizzle, I've done this, you drizzle the oil in a spiral on the earth, and it might be by a doorway so that you spiral inwards with the intention that, let's say you want to use the color green, that anybody that actually comes into your space as they walk through that spiral is that they are infused with harmony and with heart energy as they enter into your space through that doorway. It's lovely. It really is. You can make them huge. I did this out at my old place where I used to live in Thirst because I had a huge open span in front of the house, and Penny showed me to do this. And it really just shifts the energy of a larger environment. So you can do it in your garden. There's just so many things that you can do with whatever color that you want. Yeah. Do it in a therapy room that he can't get clients to leave. Yeah. I know. But isn't it lovely? I mean, rather have difficulty getting them out than difficulty getting them in. At least you know that they are really bathing in some beneficial energy. Okay, so here we've got pregnancy, infants, and children. Mother in pregnancy, blue oil plus pink or coral, possibly green to cope with the shifts and the changes to their environment. The recommendation and suggestion in the notes is that the blue oil is actually massaged almost as a cup under the belly, so, because blue is also supportive, it's a magnetizing, supportive energy. And then, of course, the pink and the coral rubbed on the tummy filters its way through and helps to keep the mother in a loving, nurturing, peaceful space, and hence actually nurtures the growing life within us. So it's just really lovely. Labor and birth. It's pity we didn't have this last week, Rose, when you were going through your birth partnering experience. But the labor and birth, again, blue oil on the legs actually supports and provides some strength and protection for the birthing process itself. And then orange, remember orange and the etheric body. The actual birth can be traumatic for the mother. The body is being stretched and, the contractions and so there's a lot of potential trauma to the mother's emotional body through the birthing process. So one of the ways to quickly alleviate that, and you can actually do this sort of as they start going into labor, for instance, is to stick the orange oil down the left-hand side, and for the auric resealing helps them to keep everything together emotionally during the process, and then use it during the process and again after the process to reseal the aura as well. Lovely. It speeds up the recovery process. It would aid in the emotional bonding with the baby and all the rest of it. Here you've got now the oils recommended for babies. So if you've got a baby that can't sleep, that this is a different set of oils. That's the only thing. These are the divine transformation oils, but they're very, very light, very almost angelic in their essence. There's a Mother Mary bottle in there, which is just beautiful. It's a very, very pale coral, which is Mother Mary. But it is, what it says is it's supportive. It brings in the loving, divine, nurturing energy for the baby. And Gabriel is the blue, which actually calms everything down. So it's very loving and calming. And what you can do is these oils are gentle enough to apply directly to the skin because they're very, very dilute. But you can, if you want, just put a few drops in the bath water when baby is being bathed before bedtime. And they would soak up the essence or the energy of those. And it will actually soothe them and help to relax them before sleep. So they are beautiful. Um, With regard to color in a baby's room, avoid any bright or loud colors. They can actually be too overstimulating for a baby that is still very, very energetically sensitive. So keep the loud colors for slightly later on when stimulation is actually more appropriate for the brain and personality development, and use gentle, soft colors. So if you find anybody that's painting their baby's nursery really, really bright primary colors, perhaps have a word with them, because that could be too stimulating and could actually lead to the child not being able to sleep properly because they are very sensitive. So here we got. Can you recommend one for a child sent to boarding school who's not settling, very anxious? Oh, well, first of all, you would actually look if a child's been sent to boarding school, you've got an immediate big change of space, green. And in fact, Archangel Gabriel or even Archangel Raphael would be wonderful to support them in that school. So green for the change of space, very much so. And if they are anxious, a pale yellow. So you could actually take some of the yellow, so they'd be feeling a lot of stress and anxiety about being separated. So pale yellow would also be good for their stress and anxiety, green for the change of space to help them settle into the new environment. And I think, how old is the child, especially if they're on the autistic spectrum? Um, 12. Yeah, it can be quite traumatic for them. So coral could be another one, because coral contains a combination of orange and pink. So pink provides some nurturing for them. In that space, it would complement the green. And orange, the orange that is contained within the column and the coral, would help support them with the trauma. So there's three colors that I would actually suggest picking up on parental tension. Yeah, yeah. Then the coral would also support him in dealing with that tension, in feeling loved and nurtured within, and perhaps not taking that quite as personally. It helps him to deal with that. Does that make sense? So green, coral, and pale yellow, I would suggest. Okay, so 1 to 2 years onwards with children, then you go into the straight blue and the pink oils, which are really good. So you graduate from the very, very pale colors into more of the solid colors. And then from 3 years onwards, where you start getting kids testing their boundaries. Sometimes that's probably from about 2 years onwards when they're really, really testing boundaries. Green is good. Yellow for mental clarity and brain development, self-confidence, and so on. So that's when you can really start reading colors through their drawings, seeing the kind of colors that they are drawn to, and you can respond appropriately with the colors that would actually best serve them. Remember the clown exercise. There's a great one. See which colors they pick up. So there's some insights. There's more detail in your workbooks on pages 66 and 67. So Penny has given a little bit more of an additional breakdown there. Okay. I see Rose is typing there again. This time of year, people put babies and children in red for Christmas and wonder. Yes! Oh, thank you, Rose. Absolutely. And then they wonder why they are so active and won't sleep. Aside from all of the stimulation in their environment, that's exactly it. But all of that color red as an overload would not be helping. I noticed a few years ago, which was just really nice, that there was a Christmas theme that emerged where they were using lavender tinsels and lavender decorations, and I thought, oh, that's lovely. And it really did feel more peaceful. It felt calmer. It felt just more supportive. And yeah, so the overabundance of red at this time of year is very, very energizing. Yep, absolutely. And the lavender is actually more spiritual. So think about that when you start decorating. Sort of what are the colors that I can perhaps use that might be a little sort of less energizing, depending on the environment. If you need the red, then use the red. Yeah, red can actually stimulate um, appetite. Yeah, and eating quickly. So not really enjoying food because we mentioned, I think, at some stage. Sorry for those who are coming in later. Rose has just said my friend has a deep red in her cafe and has a weight problem, but red stimulates appetite. Red also speeds up the process, so it actually has an effect of overloading the system so that you don't know when you're full. Also, in fast food places, that's exactly orange and reds are the colors that they use in fast food places in order to get you in to eat quickly and get out again. Yeah, that's exactly. So you're not properly digesting the foods, you're not enjoying the foods. So I've noticed in the UK as well that a lot of people use deep reds in their, almost like a magenta red, but deep reds in their dining rooms. And I kind of go, I'd be a little bit cautious about using. I wouldn't do that. I certainly wouldn't do that in a dining room. One has to be aware of the impact once you're aware of the energies. Yellow, yeah, but again, if it's too bright, if it's that bright yellow, that can actually be too much. And that can actually be acidic and overproduce, overstimulate the stomach, overstimulate the digestive juices, overstimulate the acid. So you could overload the solar plexus if the yellow is actually too strong. So if you had a toned down, gold or a softer shade of yellow or with a bit of green in there, which is, green is also, think about dining rooms and socializing and enjoying. In South Africa, it's a big thing. We love inviting people over for dinner and having, just meals, come around for dinner, come and have a meal. So you want people to really enjoy that environment, to feel comfortable and social. So you don't really want if you think about the color red and the energy in the root chakra, it would also possibly increase the alcohol drinking level as well because it speeds everything up. Yeah, lovely. So yeah, think about sort of when you're about to put a color in a certain space, go back to your color book or your color work and go, oh, okay, so what is this likely to do in this space? What would really serve me? What do I want this space to be? How do I want it to serve me or the people that come into it? And what would be appropriate and how can I balance it? How can I make sure that I'm not overloading within this space? So there's so much that you can do once you start playing with it, and you've got so much information at your fingertips in your workbook. And the final resource that you have in there, which is just, I found it very useful, is using color for healing and for ailments. And on pages 72 to 76, you've got an alphabetical resource in your workbooks with it goes through a variety of ailments, the associated supportive colors, as well as suggested behavior modifications and affirmation ideas. So what that person can then do behaviorally to support their healing process in addition to using color. So let's just say, um, let's just have a quick look at the first page. Boils. Okay, so if you want to treat boils, blue is a perfect color because blue calms and soothes. What is a boil? If you look at it, it's red, it's inflamed. Okay, so it's angry, and it's something that's building up and putting pressure underneath the skin that's just waiting to be able to burst out. So boils are often an indication of suppressed anger. Blue actually helps to soothe. So it would calm down and help to draw out that heat blue is magnetic. It would draw the heat out of it. That would help to draw everything out more quickly and speed up the healing process. And yeah, so Penny's got a behavior modification, do constructive anger release work. So really have a look at releasing anger. And I'll give you guys just a little bit of a heads up. There's a meditation that I've put out for free. I'm just finishing the newsletter now, this month, and it's called Releasing Anger. Oh, I've gotten it's on a hidden page, so it's not to the public. It's really just to the readers of my newsletters. So keep your eye open for the newsletter coming out because there is the anger release meditation. Well, it's not really a meditation because you don't go into meditation necessarily to release anger because this one gets you into the real feeling of that anger so you can discharge it and free up that energy quite literally. Um, and it's very, very appropriate for the moment as we head into the solstice because the entire energy that's around this time that we are in at the moment is about reconciliation and liberation. And we can't experience reconciliation as long as we're still experiencing unconscious or suppressed anger over anything. So that's why I've actually put that meditation or the process together. Very short, it's about 10 minutes, so that people can actually use it. So keep your eye open for the newsletter. But how interesting that I would choose boils. I just took a look at the list and chose boils. And that's the thing that I've actually done is put out this anger process at the moment. And boils are about suppressed anger. So, so I think I'll be doing some work on that myself too. As a consequence of that. But if you have a look on those pages 72 to 76, you will find a heap of suggestions and ideas. But always, always, what we've got in there is really the top level recommendation. You may find that with a client, the way into that particular issue is first through a different frequency or a different color. So instead of going from red to blue, you may find that you need to go into green first. You need to go into green to open up the heart so that they can start feeling, so that they can recognize the anger, and then you can go to blue. Get them to release all of that stuff through an open heart, and then go to blue so that they can actually feel the real peace that comes with that discharging. So it may be that there is a slightly different journey that your client would need to undertake. So if somebody is presenting to you with a physical ailment where you have a recommendation on this list, what I do if I haven't got any colors available, I take that color mandala and I'll stand somebody in front of it like we did the first session. And I'll just say to them, okay, just close your eyes and look at that. What's the first color? When you open your eyes, what's the first color that you would go for? And let them do that because that will give you a really, really important clue as to the journey that they need to take and what is going to be most valuable for them at the moment. So always remember that. And always, always, if you find that you intuitively are drawn to something different for them, then don't hesitate to recommend that or to bring it up for discussion um, as an alternate color that is actually, or an alternate route, an alternate energy that is recommended for them. So I hope that that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of stuff in your workbook that you have some really practical tools that you can take away with you um, in order to be able to work with people and to understand yourself and others in a very different way. And I loved this picture. Look at that. The magentas, the violets, the turquoises. It's beautiful. I just loved it. The butterflies and those colors. That really speaks to me. The whole energy of that picture with the colors really, really speaks to me. So, yeah, they are. They're very rich and vibrant. I just want to say to you ladies, I just can't believe where the time has gone. Just a very, very big thank you for sharing this journey with me because I've loved working with it and sharing it, hopefully, and probably even more than you've enjoyed the information, receiving the information and the insights for yourself. Well, you've got all of the videos. Thank you, Hillary, hearing the explanations. You've got all of the videos, so if you ever get stuck or you want to review, you can go back to that page with all the videos on as often as you like, and you can go back and you can review what we discussed in the actual sharing workshops as well as what's in your workbook. So it's not that that's only for a limited period of time. That's yours. Go back and actually share it. So I hope that you ladies will enjoy rediscovering your world and rediscovering yourself through the energy and the language of color. And thank you, Rose, for that. For the wisdom and clarity. I hope that that has actually provided you with some clarity and insight for yourself that you can use in a different way in your life. It did. Color was the conduit for me. It just opened up my life in many, many different ways, and I love sharing it. And there you go, ladies. It's been absolutely fabulous. So let's just take a really, really deep breath of appreciation for all of us that have been a part of this journey. And just breathe out with an absolute thank you for the perfection of the divine flow which brought us together at this time so that we can share with each other. And you guys have contact details. So again, if you've got any questions or there's anything that you want to know or want a little bit of clarity on, then give me a shout. Um, I am always here. And if I can't get back to you straight away, then I'll get back to you as soon as I've got a gap. So, ladies, thank you so much for the sharing. I'm going to stop the recording and formally end this session. Um, and I look forward to wherever our journey may take us next, this journey over the rainbow.